Hello.
Hello.
Hey. How you doing?
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you? You seem busy.
Oh yes, a bit. We actually had the grand opening, the ribbon cutting to one of our holistic stores that just opened.
How'd it go?
Oh, it went good. It went good. The midwife who was actually going to be our midwife, she was cutting the ribbon, so it was a beautiful moment.
Oh,
We had, they had the news outlets out here and a bunch of great supporters. So
that's amazing.
It's a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day.
Oh, I'm glad I've got you on a high then. So, do you want to ask me anything? Do you have any questions? What can I do to make this as comfortable as possible for you?
I feel like I'm pretty comfortable actually. I'm used to this. I feel like I do these almost every day now.
Yeah.
And the only questions I really have is what got you into maternal health and what's your interest and your standpoints on it?
So it's a bit of a roundabout story. I always was kind of interested in birth and babies and that kind of thing, but not really until I had my own. And I think partly what touched me so much about Amber's story is because I know a little of what it's like to lie on a table and bleed and bleed and bleed and think, yeah, this is it. And look at my husband and go, I think this is it. And yet I look at the care that I got worlds apart, you know? So I know it's not the same thing. It's not at all the same thing. But I think maybe also because, you know, she did this psych degree, she was doing a master's. I'm like, oh God, love, it takes so long to finish school. Like it just takes, like it takes so long, right? And I can just feel that she must have been like, I'm so close, I'm so close, I'm so close. So yeah, that just really touched my heart. So yeah, I've had two births that really could have gone a very different way. My second birth, I had a massive baby, so she was 11 pounds 3, and she got stuck, and that could have ended up dangerous. But again, you know, white, I knew my rights. I felt pretty comfortable saying to people, this is the way we're going to birth, this is the way I'm going to do things. And it's just so different, right? And it shouldn't be. So yeah, it's haunted me. It might also be because you've got like one of the most Scottish names I've ever heard. And my family's Scottish. So I don't know, there's just all these little threads of like things that you're like, I don't know, does it make sense? It's just like, I can't just like let this person be, you know, another statistics. Like that's what's important to me, that people don't go, oh, that's a bit sad, and then not do anything. So, you know, it's that thing of, I don't know that there's a whole lot I can do, but like, I feel quite comfortable throwing around opinions and having a bit of like, well, I got doctor in front of my name. I'm white. I can say things that maybe other people are not comfortable to say. I'll give it a try, hey? Yeah, so.
But definitely, and yeah, I truly appreciate it because she, doubling back to Amber, she really was working hard for her career and what she wanted to do in life. And she really was wrapping her whole career around helping children in underprivileged families. And she was so close to doing so. She earned her bachelor's in psychology in 2018. And while she was pregnant, she was, reading all these prenatal books. I'm sorry, the kids are saying.
This is our life now, kids. Yeah, I can hear you okay. Well, it is. Just go with it, mate.
She was so close to receiving her master's, and she's reading all these prenatal books and learning about all of these changes in her body. And while she is trying to earn her master's,
which is like it's nuts. Like, It's so hard. Anyway, on top of all the other things, that's amazing.
It is, and she was just a strong and amazing woman. So of course, I feel like the best way to honor her is to continue fighting and combating against this, and making sure that we're creating a different outlet for families going forward, and we're changing the direction of where birthing equity needs to be as well. But um, but first and foremost, I'm glad that you're still here, and that you are here, and that you're here to spend the time with your children because they do need you. So grateful to have you as well.
Thank you. I don't think about it too much. It's well, I do. I mean,
Scary thought.
In the sense that I think, this. I think like this is not 1821, like and that's. I'm sure this is something you and your foundation have possibly come up, maybe not directly at you, although I'll ask you about that too. This thing that people like to say sometimes, where they're like, well, it's so much better than the dark ages and we have all this amazing healthcare. You're like, yeah.
No, it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
It hasn't changed. It's been this way since the 1800s. It hasn't changed.
So it's I think that's important for people to sit with, because I get those messages every now and then. I can't imagine what you guys get, but I think it's when people are confronted with something that they find so hard to believe, it's easier to get combative and defensive and say, well, it can't be, than actually look and go, well, no, it is. Like that, those numbers don't lie. 12 times more likely than a white woman to die, right? Like it's not 1821. It's just insane. Absolutely insane.
And where people get confused is they think, well, this is happening because of COVID. And you got to think, well, these numbers have been there before COVID.
Yeah.
And COVID has now exacerbated those statistics. So that's something that people really need to pay attention and keep in mind. I was actually, it's funny because I was just having the same conversation yesterday with someone. That this is a problem, that this is an issue, that this is here. I try not to read comments after meetings or interviews that I have done. Like I try not to read too many comments.
Yeah, good.
And somebody was I had seen Vice drop our interview post. They reposted it. And I didn't even mean to look at a comment. I was just scrolling and seeing a comment, and a young mixed woman, was saying, well, I didn't receive that kind of care. They never stopped me from getting medicine when I needed medicine. And I'm just like, well, ask the 600 to 800 women every year that are developing birthing complications. Speak to those women. Because just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean it's not happening to someone else. But yeah, women really need to be heard. And going back to the 1800s, there is this, stigma, and this practice of medicine there that are, that's made to believe that Black women or Black and brown bodies are able to sustain pain, or able to handle pain better than anyone else, because it was made to believe that we have thicker skin. We may have thicker skin theoretically, but not physically. And I feel like that's a stigma that needs to be changed, and that's something that has been embedded in the system. I've actually been speaking to several colleges, including Harvard's New York School of Medicine, Columbia, and speaking to them on the systemic issues that have been set in place, and they always like to bring up funding. Oh, we don't have the funds for this. We don't have the funds for this. But it's not some new machine that you need. Standard care just needs to be implemented for each and every patient, no matter their creed or color. And that's something that people aren't really understanding. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to shed light on that, and combat against those systemic flaws and dismantle them.
Yeah. So if we backtrack a bit to, or even let's go back to the beginning. How did you love birds meet?
Well, Amber and I actually met in about 2000. That's foggy. So it's about 2007.
Yeah.
We met around 2007, and we were just friends. We had mutual friends. We lived in the same neighborhood. Um, and I was actually in between New York City and North Carolina a lot. Like every year or so, I would move back and forth. So Amber and I always just kept in communication as friends. Um, she would be there when I needed advice, and vice versa. I would be there when she needed someone. Um, and I believe 6 or 7 years ago, I tried to take it a step further and try to, um, make something out of it. And she shut me down because that just wasn't a move that she was ready for. She was very goal driven. So she was focused on her career and focused on school and focused on college and what she wants to do after college. So she was very focused. And of course, if she was to get with someone or be with someone, it would have to be serious, of course. So we remained friends throughout the years. Still kept in touch. And in 2017, while she was still in college, we just started talking more and more and more, and it just turned into something beautiful. To where we started talking every night, and we're texting nonstop. And I was actually heading back up to New York for my birthday weekend in May of 2018. And she had actually invited me to her graduation because she was graduating and getting her bachelor's in psychology. So she invited me out to her graduation. Unfortunately, I didn't get to make it because I was still on the road. And she was actually graduating on my birthday. But we connected that weekend, and we were inseparable since then. I actually ended up moving back to New York a month after that. And as soon as I moved back to New York, Amber and I were already looking for places, to live and move in, and we were just very serious about each other, and our connection was very strong. And not only could we sense it, but everyone around us could sense that. And what we had was very true. And I learned a lot about myself through Amber. She was honestly my twin flame, and there were things that I was struggling with, such as depression and anxiety. And after I couldn't even, after speaking to therapists and friends, I didn't get that satisfaction that I needed. Like, I didn't feel like I was releasing. And Amber really showed me how to release and how to love myself. And she was a strong advocate for self-care and self-love. So she was really trying to help me and push me to be inspired again, because she knew who I was deep down. She knew my capabilities, and she didn't want to see me waste my life away. So if I came home from work and I was just wanting to relax and watch a bit of TV, no, turn the TV off, read a book, go write, be productive. That's just the person that she was, and she was truly an inspiring person, and she helped me find my light in my life and my purpose again. And it's just really unfortunate because I was so happy to come home to Amber and come home to cook food, or come home and hold her and hug her, and and all of that's been stripped away from me for no good reason at all. So.
And so starting a family, what were you most looking forward to? Other than holding this beautiful baby.
That's really what it was. Raising Elias together, because we already felt like Elias was going to be a special baby, and it's not something. Elias wasn't something that just came about. He didn't just happen. He was someone that we planned for. You know, Amber and I. Amber's father actually passed away last year as well. And before he passed away, while he was on his deathbed, he was talking to me and Amber about how well we are with each other and how well we fit together, and that we shouldn't wait on having a baby. But yeah, that we shouldn't wait on having a baby, and I feel like that was really the seed that got planted into Amber's head with the family, because she was very close to her dad, and she was very sad after her dad passed away, and he wanted a grandson, and you know, he wanted a grandson from us, and she was sad that we didn't get to give him that, and we ended up rekindling one of our dates, which is we would go to S'moresburg, which is a venue where they sell like a bunch of vegan foods, vegan desserts, and it's in the Prospect Park in Brooklyn, and you can walk to the Prospect Zoo in Brooklyn as well from there. So we would eat at S'moresburg, go to the zoo, spend time at the zoo, connect with each other. One day when we were walking back, actually, we ran across a bookstore. Amber wanted to stop in the bookstore. She wanted to get a new herbal book because she was into holistics, and she wanted to get a new herbal book and learn some new recipes. And she came across this baby book, and it's like a hip hop baby book with like baby Kendrick Lamar, baby Biggie, baby Tupac. And she just had this glow in her face, and she picks up the book and she opens it, and every page that she flips, her smile is so radiant, and you know, her smile just gets bigger and bigger and bigger each page, and her cheeks just get so rosy, and she looks at me and she says, "It's about that time." I'm like, "About that time? About that time for what?" She's like, "It's about that time we start a family." Baby time, yeah. And I actually have children down south as well. So it was a bit, you know, I was kind of nervous about it at first, and you know, so I told Amber, well, we need to have a conversation first. You know, we actually get home later on that day, and I had already known that Amber was the one for me. You know, I know that I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. But you know, having a baby is something serious, you know, and I wanted to make sure that we were both on the same page at all times, and that we were going to be around to raise our child together, and build together, and we just had a clear understanding of everything, and you know, we had a strong foundation and a true support system for one another, which helped us be successful in a lot of things. And you know, in that time of our lives, we were actually both doing good, and you know, she's about to get her master's. I just ended up getting this job on Wall Street as a financial loan advisor. So you know, we're doing good, and we figure, okay, let's plan everything out and let's have this baby, because she deserves it, I deserve it, and Amber really wanted to give me the family that, you know, I couldn't have or didn't have growing up. And that's something that we both wanted for each other. Um, so on August 27th, she um, she ends up running to the room, um, holding two pregnancy tests, and she jumps on the bed and she's screaming she's pregnant. Um, and we're just so excited, and we're crying and we're hugging each other. Um, and literally, like after like 5 minutes after she's telling me she's pregnant, she's already jumping on Amazon and buying a whole bunch of baby stuff, a whole bunch of gender mutual stuff. um, and she was just so excited.
Yeah.
And that was another reason to what drew me to Amber was how motherly she was as well. Um, because having the absence of a mother in my life, really, or at least at a young age, um, I was missing that. So I really felt that from Amber, how motherly she was to myself and how motherly she was to her friends, um, family members. And she was ready. She was going to be an amazing mother. And I'm at, I'm at least glad I got to witness, the 8 months of her being pregnant, and her mothering and parenting. Um, because Amber was actually one of the most healthiest people I've ever met in my life. She was a pescatarian up until she became pregnant, and then she held a strict vegan diet. And as she's learning about her body, I'm learning with her, and I'm learning about the nutrients and the vitamins that she's, receiving and giving to the baby, and how we're going to raise a healthy baby. Um, just an amazing, amazing woman. Um, and I really wish that she at least got to hold Elias in her arms, um, because she would have been so happy to see him, and who he is now. I feel like he has at a young age. He's going on 9 months on the 20th. He just has so much personality, and he is such a reflection of myself and Amber. Um, and Elias, my son, has that same radiant smile, that same warm smile as his mom. And that kills me sometimes, but it also brings me back down to earth. And um, I'm just glad that he gets so much from his mother, and all of the traits. And even though she's gone, it's still a perfect opportunity for me to co-parent, because I know how she wanted to raise Elias, and and what I need to be doing. So I'm honored that I got to be a part of her life.
I imagine she's in your head a lot. Do it this way. Don't do it that way. Are you sure you want to do it like all mums are?
Yes, I can hear her now about all the stuff that I shouldn't be doing and what I should be doing. I feel like it hasn't. I feel like that part hasn't changed. No.
Oh dear. So January roundabout. Do you remember either of you, like what your first memories of COVID was, hearing about it when you thought, oh, this is serious? What are your memories around that?
We when COVID first started, well, first I actually was finding out about COVID and stuff before it really started hitting the news. Um, because working on Wall Street, you tend to hear a lot of stuff first, because it affects the stock market.
Yeah.
And the stock market ended up crashing 3 times in a span of 2 weeks. First time this has ever happened in history. Crashed 3 times in a span of less than 2 weeks. And I'm speaking to my bosses, and they're telling me about how bad this is coming up. And so I'm warning Amber, because we already have money tied into venues and stuff for the baby shower. which, you know, I also was actually supposed to propose to her at our baby shower. Never got the chance to. And, you know, and I'm trying to tell her to, you know, get everything prepared with school, get everything prepared with work. You know, we need to get your job security, your FMLA, everything that we need, because we're going to take a hit and there's no telling which way this is going to go. And, you know, as we're getting prepared for this, where, you know, COVID is now starting to be introduced, and um, of course we're taking all of the necessary safety precautions. You know, we're doing exactly what we're told to do, so we can stay safe and so we can protect our baby. That was our main concern, was protecting Elias and making sure that he's not infected and he's not getting sick, Amber's not getting sick, and that we remain healthy. And you know, Amber was actually trying to get her FMLA forms, her job security, set up for HR at her job. She was actually an early childhood educator. She was the main teacher, and you know, she's trying to get FMLA set up for that. And while she's going to work and they're announcing COVID, you know, they're starting to send people home. They're starting to shut places down. But Amber's school is trying to stay open and of course, make as much money as they can before they have to shut down. You know, and in this moment, there are parents who are sending their children to school sick without a doctor's note, you know, and they're coughing and sneezing on Amber and rubbing saliva on them, and she's lifting them up, and yes, and she's, you know, she's picking them up, and they're kicking her in the stomach. You know, she's in her second trimester, kicking her in the stomach, and at this point, we really didn't know about her platelet levels as well and how serious they were, because her platelet levels actually started to deteriorate in December 2019. In December, so before COVID was announced, she was being neglected. And you know, we're actually telling all of these concerns. Oh, back to her platelets. Her platelets. She was actually having to carry children upstairs as well, and whenever she would have to switch shifts, her platelet levels are deteriorating. So it's very hard for her to breathe, and she's having to constantly pick up kids and carry them up and downstairs. And she's telling them that she's having a hard time breathing and that she doesn't feel good. And you know, she's not getting any help from her staff or anything, and you know, nobody was really wanting to pay attention to her. And you would think, you know, someone who's supposed to do their job, such as her OBGYN, she's known her OBGYN since before 2014, and that's really where all of the neglect started. You know, she's trying to get FMLA job security done for her job, filling out the FMLA forms. She's telling her OBGYN all of her concerns and what's going on with her body and what she's feeling. And the baby was actually due May 30th. And Amber's trying to get FMLA set up for April instead of May, because of how she's feeling. And the OBGYN tells her, well, there are women who are working for us who are pregnant right now. Why should you have to get off? She's clearly not paying attention to Amber and tailoring to her needs. And on the FMLA forms, the OBGYN states that Amber wanted to leave for personal reasons. And HR at Amber's job turned that down. So we had to redo the process, but this time we got her mother involved. Her mother actually worked at the same hospital, but just a different branch. So we got her mother involved. And instead of the OBGYN then tailoring to her needs or being attentive to Amber, she's more or less concerned with who Amber's mother is and what her relationship is to Montefiore, the hospital.
Mm.
And that's when we're being told that if Amber wants to leave early, in order for Amber to get early FMLA, she has to be seen by a high risk doctor, right? A high risk doctor. That's the only reason why we were being appointed to a high risk doctor, not because her platelet levels are plummeting
Mm.
at this point. Um, and we were just dealing with so much negligence during before the pandemic, and then once the pandemic hit, we had to switch over to telehealth, um, which was even worse because I feel like it gave them more of a reason or more of an excuse to ignore Amber, because
Mm.
they were already ignoring her. Um, they're telling her, well, you may have you've developed anemia, you may have preeclampsia, um,
That's just
you
like
may
what?
have it, you may have preeclampsia. So here, take these iron pills, and go buy your own blood pressure monitor and keep up with your blood pressure. That's what we
Mm.
had to do. So of course we did that every single day, couple times a day. Um, we would report it every 2 weeks whenever we would have our appointment. She's yet again expressing her question, or expressing her concerns, and she's being turned away. She's not being heard. Well, okay, well, if you feel like this next week, let us know. Letting them know the next week, same thing. Let them know the next week, same thing.
So at this
So we
point,
just we really got
is she
fed up with
livid or
it.
is she scared at this point? How was she?
Both,
Yeah.
both. We both were. We both were. Because it was just getting frustrated because this is her first child, and we had high expectations, and it was just starting out so beautiful for us, and she was very upset, because she knows that she wasn't being paid attention to,
Hmm.
and she knows that this happens in this system, with this system. So we ended up um, she ended up talking to me about midwifery care, doula care, which was something that I was a bit unfamiliar with. However, me being her partner and me wanting to be involved with this pregnancy, I took it upon myself to learn as much as I could. And I ended up coming across, Birth from the Earth and Miss Nubia Martin, um, who actually threw this event here today. She's
Hmm.
actually one of my business partners as well today. And we ended up interviewing her, and beautiful connection. And right off the gate, I felt like Amber was getting attentive care, and they were really wanting to know what's going on with Amber and who she is, and be there, above and beyond, even after pregnancy. They were wanting to be there. um, so we're waiting to get all of these updates back, and we're waiting on the my chart for from the hospital with results, and they're taking forever to update the results. We finally get the results back, and I send it over to our midwife, um, on April 3rd, 2020, and she sends us a message right back and says, hey, um, Amber needs to be seen immediately. I don't understand why she's not being seen, um, because her platelet levels are decreasing at a rapid pace. Um, and our midwife was just really confused to why Amber was not being seen. And due to Amber being too high risk at this point, she couldn't have a home delivery, a home birth, which was something that we were looking forward to, especially since
Hmm.
the hospitals were now being filled up with COVID patients, and
Yeah,
we're
of
trying to
course.
avoid COVID. Um, and she's just we weren't able to get the home care because of her platelets, and she's high risk. We weren't able to go to a birthing center either because she was yet again too high risk. So we had to see a surgeon. And, this time we left that Montefiore facility with her OBGYN, and we moved on to a different Montefiore facility where her mother worked. And, her mother had resources and connections, and those people were telling us that they were going to take really good care of us, which was a lie. Amber's needed to get updated blood work, and she's going to the blood lab, and they're losing blood work, they're losing paperwork. We're having to go back and forth, and that's when Amber left her last tweet, which blew up, about the incompetence and the negligence that she was dealing with, and how she wanted to write a tell-all. She wrote that on that day, just off of how frustrated she was, and just the amount of stuff that we had to go through to get results that we should be getting, because yet again she's in her second trimester, transitioning into her third. She's supposed to be seen every 2 weeks, going into every week, and she's not receiving that. And we ended up getting a call the very next day on April 18th after they reviewed her blood work, and said that Amber needs to come in for treatment immediately. So, we take her in for treatment. We're thinking that she's just going to be there for a couple of hours. And, we get there, and Amber's scared, and she's nervous, and she's looking at me, and she's telling me, to not let them take her up by herself, that she doesn't want to go up by herself. And so I'm doing everything in my power to be by her side. And, I'm talking to the receptionist, and I'm telling them, hey, you guys have to make some sort of exception for us to go up together, because she does not need to be alone right now. And they're talking about all these COVID rules and stuff. And I'm just telling them, well, this isn't on me. This is on you guys. You guys have been messing up this whole time. You guys have to make some sort of exception for us. If you guys can't take me, at least take her mother. Her mother works here and has all of the proper PPE. She has access to the hospital. At least let her up, because we weren't able to have they weren't going to allow us to have a midwife or a doula present for the delivery either.
Yeah.
So security comes up to me, and the security woman tells me, okay, Mr. Baby Daddy, you need to calm down.
Mr. Baby Daddy.
Yeah, okay. Mr. Baby Daddy. And says, we need you to go wait in the lobby. She's going to be fine. You need to go wait in the lobby. Matter of fact, we don't want you in the lobby. Go wait outside. Go wait in your car. They kicked me out the lobby, and I had to go sit in my car and wait for results. And Amber and her mother are texting me back and forth, because Amber's worried about me because of how upset I am. She's calling me crying and telling me that she needs to stay overnight, and how scared she is because she's never had to stay overnight ever in a hospital before. She's terrified, especially since I can't be there, and she just wants to be home. Like, she just wants to sign herself out and come home, and trying to console her and be there for her. And it went from, okay, she needs to be here for a day, to a couple days, for the rest of the weekend, which was scary to us, because yet again they still can't find out. They have her this whole time. They can't find out what's wrong with her, what's going on. Yet again, they're just telling her, well, even though she passed her COVID test twice, they come back and tell her, well, you either have COVID or you have preeclampsia.
I'm not medically trained, but yeah. I mean, it just like, what?
Yeah, so just imagine what we're going through, and Amber's she's always one to notate, so she's always leaving notations in her phone. Her mom's constantly loading her with questions to ask the doctors, and she's notating that. And it seemed like they just weren't trying to pay attention to her at all. And I get a call on a Sunday, very next day on the 20th. And yet again, we still don't know what's going on with Amber. I still don't know what's wrong. Um, she calls me and says, "Hey, they're going to induce my pregnancy today. Um, we're going to push for the baby today. So pack a bag for yourself, pack a bag for me, pack a bag for the baby, and come to the hospital, take your COVID test because they were finally going to allow me to be with her after I passed my COVID test. Go take it. I passed my COVID test. I meet up with her like 6:30 that afternoon. Um, they let me up. They're trying to comfort me. They're trying to give me pillows and snacks as if I'm going to be there for several days, as I was supposed to be. Especially if she's receiving treatment. And I was only with Amber in that room for maybe a couple hours. They're coming back and forth to us with what's going on and procedures and the risk factors to these procedures, and cesarean being the last one, C-section being the last option. And we're really trying to do this as the most natural way as possible. So I'm yet again trying to console Amber, and they're yelling at me, "Oh, you can't be too close to Amber. You can't be too close to her. You can't hold her. You can't touch her. You can't kiss her. You can't do anything. You have to stay back from her. Like I can't hold her hand when she's scared."
Why?
And the doctor, she takes off her gloves and she says, "Well, we don't know who has COVID. We don't even know if we have COVID because the nurses aren't being tested." And that was just a very unsettling feeling for Amber and I, especially her, scared for her life.
Yeah.
And now we've done all this to protect ourselves from COVID, and just to hear the news right before she's going in that we don't even know if the nurses are being tested. It's a very scary and unsettling feeling. And they leave, and I'm talking to Amber and I'm telling her, we're gonna make it through this. This is our last push. I know this isn't how we dreamed of our pregnancy. And we did, and we wanted another baby, and we always joked like, okay, well now we know, and we'll be prepared for our next baby. I'm consoling her and telling her about, I've known people who have taken drugs or drank while they were pregnant or fought while they were pregnant, and they still have strong babies. And Amber being the most healthiest person I know, I'm thinking, we're gonna have a strong baby. You're gonna be fine. You're gonna be okay. We're gonna get through this. This is it. After this, we're going home. We're taking our baby home. And she's, trying to smile, and she's looking up at me, and she's telling me, yes, we're going home. All three of us are going home. We're going home. And she just keeps repeating that. The doctors come back in and with this sense of urgency, that they need to get the baby out immediately. The baby wasn't in distress. He was just still attached to the placenta because he was still wanting to grow. It wasn't his time yet. On top of that, they weren't really treating Amber at all. And they're pushing this sense of urgency into the arms of irrational decisions. And there's gaps that we're starting to notice. And so we're asking them questions. Are you guys sure you guys have everything prepared? Are you guys sure you have everything ready? Who are the doctors who are going to be in that room with her? Because we knew it wasn't her head surgeon. She never even got to meet her head surgeon. It kind of seemed like the head surgeon passed her off to a younger doctor, and I don't even know if that doctor was a resident or not, or even a undergrad. Because during these times as well, they're allowing undergrads to work in the hospitals to catch up with COVID patients. So there's a lot of confusion and a lot that we're worried about, and a lot of questions that are going unanswered. And they're assuring us they have everything ready. They're telling me oh well, every doctor that you would want to be in Amber's room is going to be in the room with her. Yet again, not her head surgeon though. And they're just reassuring us and the risk factors and the mortality rates. They just found out that Amber had developed HELLP syndrome. They just found out that same day that she had HELLP syndrome. The day that they decided to induce her labor is the day that they found that out. If your platelets are at a 150, they need to be monitored. If they're at a 125, they need to be monitored and ready for treatment. She wasn't receiving any of that, and by the time we had gotten to the hospital, her platelet levels were well under 50. They were well under 30. And her, at this point, her blood is like water, and her blood is not clotting. And they're wanting to perform a C-section on her, and telling us that the risk factor on this is very low. The mortality rate on this is very low. The mortality rate on HELLP syndrome on top of that is very low. 0.01% women per year die from this. I'm talking to Amber and consoling her and telling her we're going home, and those are still the last words that she's saying is, yeah, we're going home. All three of us are going home. All three of us are going home, and she just keeps repeating it as they're rolling her out, because they're not going to allow me to be in the room with her for surgery because they're putting her to sleep. So they moved me to another designated room. They tell me that she's going to be back in this room in like 20 minutes. Once the baby's out, you can come see the baby. And, they're putting me in a shared room during COVID times. And I just remember how unsettling that was for me, and how, I received care in North Carolina for my other children. And, I've never had to do a shared room, or, we've always had privacy, and we've always, they didn't offer me a place to lay my bags, where I had just had to pack all of our bags. So I eventually just lay my stuff down, and I walk outside of that room. And outside that room is this bench in front of the OR. And I'm listening to music, and I'm waiting, and I'm filled with excitement, and I'm ready for the baby, and I'm ready to hold Amber, and I'm ready to hold her and the baby, and have them come home. And I just had this sharp feeling that something wasn't right. And I realized 30 minutes had just went by. Amber's still not back. I'm asking nurses, hey, do you guys know what's going on? I'm not hearing anything. They're not telling me anything. They don't want to tell me anything. Time goes by, and something just told me to stand next to the double door of the OR. And I just sat there, and I seen doctors rushing a baby out covered in blood and in a bucket. And I'm thinking, well, this could be my son. But yet again, I don't know, because I don't know which room Amber's in. Maybe like 10 seconds after they ran my son out of the room, they're on the intercom stating that they need all medical emergency personnel to the OR that Amber was in. I didn't realize it was Amber until they said that she was a non-COVID patient 3 times. They had to say that she was a non-COVID patient 3 times before people really started to attending to her aid. Wow. And and I'm just having flashbacks of everything that that occurred during this pregnancy, because my job gave me the leniency to be with Amber at every prenatal appointment, at all of her appointments up until COVID hit, and I had to wait in the car because they didn't want guests to come in. And I'm just thinking back to all of that stuff, and thinking back to how they were just telling us how they had everything ready in the room and prepared. And as I'm thinking that, and I see doctors rushing from another side of the hospital, running with sacks of blood in their hand um, to the OR, after they had just assured us that they had everything ready for her. Um, and I'm just getting this really bad feeling. Um, and yet again, I'm asking questions. Nobody's telling me anything. And this nurse comes up to me, this black head nurse, and she says, "Hey, who do you have that can be here for you?" Which is already a bad sign.
Mm.
And I'm telling them, well, no, Renita, Amber's mother, is here. She actually ended up working a late shift to stay close to Amber. Um, since she couldn't, come up with Amber, she at least made an effort to work a later shift to stay close. Um, I called Renita upstairs, and I wish I could give Renita information then and there, but they're not telling me anything.
Mm.
And I'm telling Renita what I've just experienced, and what they just said over the intercom, and them rushing blood. Um, time still goes by, and Renita and I are both asking, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on. Nobody's still telling us anything. And so I decided to change up my questions. So the head nurse comes back around. I ask her, hey, I know that Amber's platelet levels are dangerously low, and that her blood is like water.
Mm.
I seen you guys pull my son out. Did you at least sew her back up? The head nurse looks at me and she says, no, they
Mm.
didn't sew her back up. And I'm asking why, knowing her platelets are like this, knowing that she could bleed out.
Mm.
Why isn't she being sewed back up? Well, they thought the bleeding was coming from her uterus, so they performed a hysterectomy. So they cut her open again. The bleeding wasn't coming from her uterus, so they took out her. They performed a hysterectomy for no reason at all.
Whoa.
I'm asking, well, did you guys? And we're already upset. I'm already super upset because Amber and I were just talking about how we wanted another child in a year or two, and how bad she wants a daughter. She wanted a son and a daughter. Um, and I kept just thinking to myself, wow, Amber's going to be pissed when she wakes up.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm asking them, well, did you guys sew her up after that? She says, she looks at me and like she has tears in her eyes, and she's like, no, they cut her open again. And I'm asking what for, and she told me that they cut her chest open to manually massage her heart because her heart stopped. She ended up coding. She didn't tell me this, but she ended up coding as soon as they cut her open.
Mm.
She coded immediately as soon as they cut her open. And she's asking me, well, do you have any more family members that could be here? Um, they're still trying to give me the possibility that she's gonna make it through this. Of course, that's what they're trained to do. Um, but I'm not buying it because I've been there throughout this whole thing, and I've seen the treatment that she had been receiving.
Yeah.
Um, and Renita starts calling Amber's side of the family. They start calling my side of the family. They're setting up this family room now during the midst of COVID, um, which is a really bad sign.
Yeah.
Because to me, that's just like, okay, they're trying to get us all together so they can break the news. Um, and you know, they're trying to distract me and get me away from the door of the OR. You know, they're telling me, "Oh, you want to go see your son? Do you want to go see your son? You really?" And at that time, I didn't want to see him.
Yeah.
Because I'm hurting because I'm so worried for his mother. I'm so worried about Amber. Like that's the only thing that's on my mind. And you know, I eventually get away, and I'm on my way to the family room to say hi to the family. And as I'm walking past the front desk, I'm hearing nurses go back and forth. Oh, why hasn't this arrived from the blood bank yet? Where is this blood at? Why isn't it in this room? They clearly weren't ready at all. And they were trying to treat Amber last minute. You know, why are you trying to pump blood when she's bleeding out? You know, you guys should have been trying to pump blood and doing blood transfusions and you know, making another option for Amber, and they weren't doing that at all. And after speaking to numerous doctors and educating myself on all of this, um, I learned that she was dead when she walked in there. That it was already too late, because they had just caught on to it way too late. And you know, there are doctors just starting to leave her room, and I'm already upset because I noticed that my son has a cut on his shoulder, maybe 2.5 centimeters away from his neck. And I'm very upset about that because they could have killed him too.
Yeah.
Getting him out.
Absolutely.
So I'm already very upset and angry. You know, and I'm heading back up, and I'm waiting around the room, and you know, I see doctors leaving Amber's room. You know, black doctors with and nurses with they have such a disgust in their faces. And you know, they're waiting in the hallway, and they're staring at me from across the hallway, trying to draw themselves closer, because they know that Renita works there, and they're trying to draw themselves closer to, you know, they're already drawing themselves closer to Renita, but they're trying to draw themselves closer to me because I'm really going through it. And you know, there are white doctors who are leaving Amber's room, and they're patting me on my shoulder, and, "Oh, you're gonna be fine. You're gonna be okay. Everything's gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine."
Best of what?
You know, while they get to, you know, go home and spend time with their families.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but when they were saying that, I felt like I was being given false hope because I'm already thinking the worst.
Yeah.
And then when they're telling me, "Oh, you're gonna be okay. You're gonna be fine," I'm thinking, "Okay, great. Amber's okay. Amber's we're going home." But I had already had that feeling that Amber was gone. And you know, there are the nurses, the black nurses are still trying to come closer to me, and they look like they have something to tell me, but they don't want to say it, or they can't say it. And yeah, we ended up going to the family room, and Amber's head surgeon finally arrives, the one that she never even got to meet, finally arrives. He sees that there's a couple of us in the room, a pretty decent amount of us in the room. So he turns around and he runs and grabs a colleague to come back and break the news with him. And the first thing that he says to us is, "I'm sorry for your loss." And he's getting ready to roll Amber's body in to us. And I'm already losing it at this point. And I just remember hearing in afar the head surgeon asking Amber's mother for consent to her organs. And while Amber was alive, Amber told them, we both told them, we're not organ donors. She does not want to donate organs. Um, so it really upset me to hear the head surgeon trying to ask the mother for consent after Amber had already said no.
So she's already passed away and she's still being ignored. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she is. And I just know that they just wanted them because of how healthy Amber truly was. And I just remember, shouting at the surgeon and just how upsetting that was. They declared her death 12:36 past midnight on April 21st, but I really said that she died on the 20th. We hung out around that hospital till about 4:30 in the morning, and I'm having to try to figure this stuff out because this is her mother's only child. And her mother just came to stay with us for a couple of weeks to help out with Amber around the house while I'm, out taking care of our responsibilities. And, Renita, Amber's mother's heading back home with me, and we're both so stressed, and we're worried about, funeral expenses and all this other stuff after we just saved up and we're planning for Elias.
Yeah.
I ended up having to do crowdsourcing, and I shared a bit of Amber's story and what happened to her. And I advocated for her the very next day. And our GoFundMe actually went viral. Her story started to go viral, and I'm very grateful that we did receive help from the community, because during COVID times, these funeral homes aren't accepting new patients for the next 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
And on top of that, the hospital they were already trying to throw Amber on the back of an ice truck, and they were trying to take her to Hart Island. And what Hart Island is, it's an island where they dump all of the COVID patients in a hole. So they wanted to dump her in a hole full of COVID patients. And there were a bunch of other stuff on her death certificate that didn't sit well with us at all. I can't get too detailed with that. But they basically did try to make Amber look like another Black girl with no family. Knowing who her mother was, they didn't add her mother to the death certificate, even though she worked in that same hospital. They didn't add me, even though they knew I was the father. And they've been, giving us this huge runaround. Amber's body never even got examined by or signed off by a medical examiner. She got an autopsy performed by the head surgeon that she never even got to meet, which is a huge conflict, huge conflict. And, I'm glad that we were able to get Amber the proper burial. I actually ended up receiving some help from someone who came across our story. And he ended up helping. They ended up creating a new burial spot just for Amber. And I'm just glad that we did receive that help, because if we didn't, she would have got covered up. And that's the type of woman and how hard she worked. She truly wouldn't have deserved anything like that at all. And it kept feeling like they were still pushing Amber away, even after death. They just were still pushing her away and still pushing her family away. which is why I'm waking up every day and I'm fighting so hard. Because everything that happened to Amber was very unjust, and you know, she was being neglected since before COVID. There's no excuse that you can make, because anything that you can say is gonna be an excuse. She was clearly being neglected by multiple people. There were multiple doctors signing off on her paperwork as her health is deteriorating, and we're not being made aware of any of this. Um, we have to hear this through a midwife that we unfortunately didn't get to hire because it was too late.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just crazy to believe that that they would really do this to Amber, and that they've been doing this to women. You know, and after advocating and gaining, you know, attention from across the world, I'm speaking to different doctors in different countries and different states, who are telling me all of these other options that we could have been given. I was speaking to a doctor, even though Elias was a month and 10 days premature, there still was the option to have him 6 weeks prior to that. You know, he would have had to been in NICU longer, but Amber and him both would be alive. You know, we weren't presented any options like that because we were told, yet again, they didn't know what she had until the day that they induced her labor, and it was already too late by then. But we've you know, I've actually been doing a lot in her honor.
I'll say you have.
Definitely every single day.
Yeah.
Been doing a lot in her honor. The midwife that broke the news to us, her and I partnered up, created the Amber Rose Isaac Access to Homebirth Scholarship Program. And what this program does is it offsets the cost of insurance premiums. So whatever insurance does not cover, the Amber Rose Isaac Access to Homebirth Scholarship Program will cover that. We've actually been able to help over 26 families. And a lot of those families did have government assisted insurance, which you know, which is something that at Save a Rose is something that we've been trying to do, make midwifery and doula services more accessible and more affordable to underprivileged families, because even with exceptional insurance, Amber actually had insurance through the hospital she died in. For a midwife, we were still going to have to pay about $4,000 out of pocket because the providers didn't want to cover a home birth. You know, so this program is definitely saving lives right now, and it's helping those underprivileged mothers who are feeling turned away, just because of the insurance that they have. And also, I'm also one of the partnering efforts to bringing the first ever midwifery-led birthing center to the Bronx as well. You know, we've been speaking with, I've spoken to numerous politicians and legislators, city council members, mayors, and, you know, trying to create bills and implement them, which is another thing that I learned, you know, stepping into this field. You know, you hire these politicians, you pay for their chair with your tax money, and, you know, you come and ask them, hey, what are you guys doing about this? And they're not doing anything about it. And, you know, you tell them your concerns, and they're like, oh, well, have you created a bill for this yet? So it's like
been a bit busy grieving, but anyway.
Right. So it's like we have to do this ourselves. So right now we are working on the Amber Rose Isaac Act. I don't want to get too much into detail about that just yet because we're still working the tweaks out. But we did just right now we're trying to pass the New York Health Act. And we've been in touch with a senator here that we've been working very closely with. The senator and the chairman of the health committee, Richard Gottfried, have agreed to implement our our wording of the bill verbatim. Um, so they're granting all of our wishes, and they're using all of our words for this bill for the New York Health Act, which is also another beautiful thing because it's just a step forward that we're trying to do, especially when we're trying to get support from these politicians. You know, there are people like, you know, Governor Andrew Cuomo who don't want to see things like this happen,
Yeah.
who has been trying to make it harder for us to have a birthing center. He actually tried to create a an executive order on the same day that Amber passed away, trying to protect doctors and grant them immunity for maternal deaths, even if it wasn't through COVID, because originally the bill was if they had COVID, you know, your family can't sue if anything happens. They were trying to do that same thing, even if it wasn't COVID. And Cuomo signed that executive bill for the same day that Amber passed away. And you know, the week after Amber passed, and I actually Montefiore was avoiding questions because now we're starting to gain all of this national attention. You know, Montefiore is avoiding questions, and I'm someone who likes to handle their problems head on. So um, I took the whole Black Lives Matter movement and, you know, maternal rights movement to their front door and held a press conference in front of their hospitals. Um, and about a week later, because you know that gained a lot of attraction too. A week later, Andrew Cuomo mentioned us without mentioning our names because we're already all over the news at this point. And he talks about how he heard about the you know the maternal mortality, and how his maternal task force was all over it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very hyper masculine, militant, and like this is birth, it's not war. Like, which says
Exactly,
a lot.
but
Says a lot.
but the thing is, I've orchestrated um, everything to exactly how I want it to be, to where I have people that have volunteered or volunteered to work on sections that I need them on or projects that I need them on. So I have different people for all types of different projects. So you know, with this group of people that I've been working with called the Movement to Birth Liberation, um, we've been actually in touch with, you know, the health committee, and I've actually shared testimony against them as well. Um, and you know, Cuomo's maternal task force was there as well. And they're telling me, "Oh, Bruce, you don't need to be doing that. You should be grieving. You don't need to be doing that. That's my job. I should be doing that." And I'm just like, "No, obviously I have to do it because you guys aren't doing it."
Mm.
Um, you know, because we have to take matters into our own hands because we are the real maternal task force. We're the people who really care about our children, our women, and our communities. Um, and you know, even the judge was asking them, "Hey, for the hospitals," um, and they were like the main CEOs, CFOs of the main hospitals here in New York City. And the judge is asking them, "Hey, would you guys take a $50,000 budget cut to hire a hospital doula? You guys have more than enough." Um, oh well, we wrote this in our bill, and we don't know yet if it's gonna be implemented yet, but we did bring it up. And the judge caught her in a lie. The judge was like, "Well, I looked at it and no, it's not in the bill. No, you guys did not, and you guys did not include it for next year's budget. So you're not trying to change this systemic issue." Um, and you know, they're all trying to use me because I'm already angry and I've already said my piece. I've already shared statistics with them that are accurate. Um, and they're just talking about how much they want to be there for me and how much they want to help me. And I'm just like, you guys haven't helped me since this blew over. You guys didn't even offer to pay $1 for the funeral costs. That's something that I had to stress over, which is also something that I'm working on as well, to provide funding for families who don't have insurance, who are going through this, and so that they're not having to pay like $30,000, $40,000 out of pocket for an unexpected death.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm trying to provide for families right now as well, because that's hard, especially in a pandemic. Nobody wants to blow their savings in a pandemic. um, and I'm just realizing all of these errors and these flaws and these things that aren't being set up for families in this position, and how we're just left and thrown in the woods to the wolves. It's we're expected to go back to normal life after this, when in fact our lives right now are on a standstill, as we're combating and as we're trying to get justice. Um, Everybody else is able to move forward with their lives, and we're not, because in this point of our lives, we're still trying to get this stuff figured out, and we're still trying to get justice for our loved ones. And they're just trying to make it twice as hard, which is showing me that they don't care, which is showing me that we're not being cared about. Um, and which is another reason to why I joined the efforts to bringing a birthing center to the Bronx, and going over all of these statistics. I'm learning, that the Bronx has the highest C-section rate. Over 60% of these women don't need the C-section,
Yeah.
but are still getting cut open anyways. And I've made the clear indication that how they're putting profit over people, especially to the hospitals that are being so substantially defunded, which happen to be the hospitals in our communities. And a way for them to make up for those budget cuts is to perform the C-sections on these women. We're talking more than half of these women don't need C-sections.
Yeah.
But they're securing an extra $8,000 for a surgery for the C-section versus a natural birth, because now this high risk issue becomes it turns into surgery. So you have to pay extra for surgery. And I've been making all of these clear indications to people, and I feel like that's really a way for me to help close this gap.
Yeah.
And give the women in our communities the attentive care that they deserve. And that we're not putting people over profit, and or profit over people. I'm sorry. And I feel like this is another way that's going to also hurt their pockets as well, because it's like, okay, you guys weren't doing your job, you guys weren't treating our people right for a very long time. Now we have the birthing professionals who can show them, who can tailor to an individual's needs, because everyone's different. Everyone needs different treatment. They treat it as if everyone's the same, and that everybody's just going to be okay, and that everybody should be treated one way, which is a huge problem. It's very problematic.
I mean, it's just, you're so
Sorry,
right.
I ramble. I'm so passionate about this, so I start rambling.
This is good though. This is what we need, because I think, you're so right. It is a business, and I think so many people go into this system that is the system of a hospital, not even realizing that there's other options, because we are so conditioned to believe the hospital is the safest place for you to be. And nobody's denying that, okay, in theory, in an emergency with properly trained people and without all the racism and that sort of hold up version of the world that we would like to see. But we know it's just not true. Realistically, people would be safer going back to, like we're talking about, it's like full freaking circle, talking about the dark ages. It's like, well, women were safer before hospitals got involved and made this whole thing a business.
Yes.
Potentially.
Exactly what's going on.
Might be an unpopular opinion, but I think that's really where we're at with, like, okay, who is doing the harm? Get the families away from the harm.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the key.
And how have you gone parenting with all of this and grief and like getting a medical degree and becoming a politician and financial advisor and all these other hats at the same time?
Well, I stepped away from Wall Street, and I've fully been dedicating my time to my son, and even Amber's mother is living with me now. And building that bond with her, and making sure that she has that bond with Elias. Because that makes her happy, especially knowing that Amber was her only daughter. Um, that brings her joy. Um, it's been tough. It's
Yeah.
been very tough, especially sometimes when you feel like you don't have the support that you need from friends or family members, but they don't get it and they're moving on with their lives. So I tend to surround myself with more spiritual in tune people, and birth workers, and people who are also facing the same trauma as me as well, because they come to me for guidance. So I gravitate towards those people because they feel what I'm feeling. And then when I talk, they listen, and vice versa. Um, and also it's been, I've also been trying to take a different approach at things as well, because even after Amber passing, um, you know, without being properly evaluated, they're already throwing drugs and antidepressants in our face, such as Xanax and other strong drugs. Um, and in my head, I'm thinking, is this really what they're doing to people in this position? And I'm thinking about how this has been an ongoing perpetual cycle that has been going on for generations. How they've been, feeding, people in my community these drugs, and they've grown addiction, and now they're incompetent enough to raise they're too incompetent to raise their children. And I'm thinking, how am I going to raise Elias if I'm doped up on drugs? There's got to be more of a holistic approach to this. So, which is something that I've been studying and talking to people about, healing the community through, holistic rehabilitation, trying it through that approach, which is something that we do here as well. For prenatal care, all the holistic care, yogas, and all that good stuff that you would need, and and that really made me want to not only just do stuff for mothers, but for the youth in our communities, because that's something that Amber was dedicating her life to. Um, she was trying to introduce art therapy to the youth as a way of self-expression. Um, which is another program. I have several programs that I've been trying to work on, with that, with art therapy, with sports. We have some talented kids in our communities, who just don't have the people to really push them and guide them. So I want to be able to set that up for them. Um, I really feel like, what's been helping me cope is just moving, and making sure that I'm moving every day and that I'm fighting every single day. Because the moment that I'm settled down and I feel like I'm not fighting, I start to feel really bad.
Yeah.
Because I just keep telling myself this isn't over. You're relaxing while somebody's in the hospital scared for their life. Um, and that stuff doesn't sit well with me. And I can just hear Amber in my head. This isn't over. We're not done. We're not done. We're not done. Um, so it's I, the only thing that I wish that I didn't have to do all of this, because only because I wish I could spend even more time with Elias. I feel like when I take my days advocating, because they take up a lot of my time and a lot of my days, and there's times where I have to travel. Um, and I feel like that's time away from him. Um, But of course, you know, I love the work that I'm doing. I believe in the work that I'm doing. I believe the work that, you know, my team is putting in. Um, and we've made so many changes and left such a strong impression in 9 months. You know, it'll be 9 months on the 21st. We've came a very long way. We're changing the direction of birthing equity. We're you know, changing legislation. Um, you know, help is on its way, and we're a big part of that. Um, you know, and there I've had women who have been fighting this stuff for over 25 years who are thanking me because, you know, they feel like it really took a man to step up, or it takes men to step up for their women, and advocate for this, because it can't be just the birth workers advocating for this.
No, because
It has
nobody's
to
listening.
be
Nobody's listening.
nobody's listening. It has to be all of us, which is what I've been, you know, putting together. I've been putting together fathers, so fathers know that we're strong, and that we can do this together, and that we can be in support of our women. Um, and we're trying to just change the stigma on a lot of things, and what things are made to be believed in. Um, you know, and it's just a beautiful thing to see that, you know, fathers are connecting more with their partners and paying attention more to their partners. You know, there are women who want to become doulas now. I've spoken to nurses who quit their nursing job to become a doula now. They wanna you know, practice on or work on being a doula. Um, you know, because it's just, it's scary to think that women don't want to go to the hospital to give birth, that they would rather give birth in their bathroom.
Mm.
You know, and just how unsafe that is. And um, you know, that's why we're always trying to one up and be there for them. So another project that the most current project that we're working on right now is, we're on the verge of purchasing a RV as well. Um, and on that RV, you can get your prenatal care done there. We're gonna have midwives and doulas on the bus. You know, who can do the work on the bus if they can't come. Like they'll pull up to your home, um, or you know, you can receive care on the bus in a comfortable setting. Um, Up until legislation is passed, and we can, you know, they'll allow us and grant us our birthing center. So that's our substitute in the meantime, so we can help families right now.
Mm.
Um, because I feel like the longer I wait, you know, more families are in danger, um, and are more in danger to lose, you know, their spouse or their child. Um, and I know my strength, and I know that, you know, last year, if this happened last year, I wouldn't have been able to deal with this.
Mm.
But you know, Amber conditioned me to be such a strong person, um, that I almost feel as if I'd been conditioned for this reason. Um, and You know, we've been able to help out families, and that's a blessing in itself. And that's Amber. You know, I feel like that's Amber working, and um, you know, and I feel like that's the best way that I can honor her. You know, is by giving her all of these things and making sure that she marks her place here in this world.
Mm.
Because she was, you know, truly an amazing person, and she deserves nothing less.
And so, your gorgeous little boy, if he watches this one day, listens to it one day, pieces all these things together, what would you want him to know?
His mother was a superhero, and we need to continue her work. She uh, she left a legacy for us, and you know, that's something that we got to carry and we got to represent for his mother. Um, you know, because his mother was an amazing person that wanted to help the community. You know, one way or another, Amber was going to change the world some way, somehow. And it's just very unfortunate that it has to be this way.
Mm. Well, I guess for me, I want you to know that you're not forgotten, and that the news stories come and go, and there's sound bites that come and go, but you're not forgotten.
Thank you.
And we might be oceans and oceans away, but there are people who care.
Thank you.
You're not forgotten. And I look forward to seeing those RVs driving around with roses painted all over them. And I think we should get you a superhero cape too.
They're on its way. They're on its way.
Yeah. Thank you for being able to keep showing up. It's not taken for granted, the strength that you have, but I think this is a good example for people to, you know, yes, you sit in your pity party, but you got to get off your bum and do something. Grief can be like actionable, as you've shown, you know. So
there's definitely strength and vulnerability. There's a lot of strength and vulnerability.
How can people help if they're sitting here right now going, okay, what can I do? Like I always say to people, like, you know, money is the best thing you can do that helps to move projects forward.
I mean, that's always good. We do have a GoFundMe that we actually just started. We had a previous GoFundMe attached to an organization that was for the birthing center, but we actually created one simply for Amber's legacy, which is of course on GoFundMe, and it's also in our link on Instagram on the Save a Rose Foundation page, or myself at Bismack III, and our link tree in our bio. And once you click on the link tree, it'll come up with different options. You can see how you can donate to us, future events, how you can participate in the events, how you can work for Save a Rose, volunteer work. You know, we're constantly updating the Instagram page and the Facebook page. The website is almost finished as well, so we can just start directing people to our website. But for now, we're just sending everybody to the Save a Rose link tree and the Save a Rose GoFundMe.
Awesome. Thank you for your time. I really, really am so humbled, because I would totally understand if you just went, you know what, like I've talked about this enough. Like,
Yeah.
So I know that for you, this is, you know, it's yet again having to talk about it again, but I so appreciate it.
Oh, definitely. I feel like this story is very important, and it needs to get out. I'll share it as many times as I need to. I literally get up every day and have to share it. You know, I did a interview with a Canadian radio station right before I got on with you, and then I have a few more things to do in the couple of days, in the days, and then we are doing a calling to all artists as well, because Amber is an artist. I'm an artist myself, and like I said, she was doing it for self-expression and wanted to do it for therapy for children. So right now we are having her birthday is actually February 23rd. Her birthday is coming up. So we have asked artists to paint, you know, or paint or make any type of art piece reflecting either Amber or the maternal health crisis, to raise awareness around this as well. We do have events planned out for the month, like tomorrow or last week I did the Save a Rose surviving fathers with the fathers who their stories made headlines, and I've been in great connection with all of them, and been in support of all of them. And tomorrow I'm actually going to do Save a Rose is suffering, the Suffering Roses, which features you know, mothers who have gone through this, or the mothers of the mothers are going to be on there as well. So Amber's mother is actually going to be speaking out for the first time tomorrow. Wow. On the situation. And then the following week after that, our next event is I'm going to be interviewing birth workers and reproductive justice activists, and what we can do to push legislation and these bills forward. so we can, change everything that's going on, and dismantle the system, and rebuild, and hopefully for the better, and actually help people.
I think, yeah, the trickiness with some of this is that, like, I mean, I can tell you there's more than 1,500 people in my birth trauma training course. Do you want to guess how many white male OBs I have?
How many?
0.
0. Wow.
That I know of, unless they would like to come forward and out themselves, but
wow.
Yeah, so
wow.
It's often the midwives and the doulas and the people like who are there on the ground and maybe have family members affected. It's not white dudes. It's just not. So
no.
There's a lot to be done.
Thank you so much for your thank you for your work and your contribution as well.
It's teeny tiny, but I think this is it. It's very easy, I think, sometimes for people to go, oh, it's too hard, it's too sad. And then that's where the conversation stops. It's like, there's always something we can do. There's always something.
Exactly. And we just got to keep pushing forward. Even the smallest contribution makes it a big outcome. So everything's going to snowball, and we're going to get exactly what we want and exactly what we deserve. We just got to keep pushing.
Strength to you.
Thank you.
You got a lot,
so much.
but wow, like, I'll send you some more.
It's accepted, it's needed every day.
Yeah. All right, mate. Thank you so much. So much.
Thank you,
You
Dr.
take
Bowe.
care. You take care.